All right, we are here to begin our butter spreader carving remote workshop. So I have an order right now that I'm going to start to prepare for somebody, a kit to send out. If anybody else wants to do this, just text me or email and I will get your shape cut for you and send it off with some sandpaper, a carving knife, some various things. But I just wanted to show, first of all, how you get your wood blank. And so I'm basically have 5 preset patterns that you can choose from. I'm using some double stick tape here to hold this pattern on the wood, and then I will cut it out for you and get it in the mail. Kindling. Kindling. So this first piece happens to be cherry, and what we'll do before I send it to you is remove my pattern in case somebody else wants that. I'll clean up the edges of this a little bit with a file, but I'm going to show you the first few steps here to mark. Apologies for all of the fidgeting as I have to readjust this tripod now. And I don't know how to pause in between and stitch videos together. So, woo, you've been drinking all day. No, you haven't. You're just here in coronavirus. Whoops, quarantine world. Okay, hope this is gonna stay. All right, so this one's gonna be sent out. You'll get it in a kit with some sandpaper and different things. Yes, I've been drinking, don't judge me. So the first step in this is that you want to mark a center line all the way around the edge of your knife blank. This is one I cut out earlier from maple. I just eyeball it. I just kind of line the pencil up on my finger and then use my fingers as a marking gauge. So just kind of aim for center and just make a really nice dark line all the way around it. Even on the back of the handle here. So I'm hoping I won't be confusing people too much when I'm talking about the knife. I'm actually talking about the spreader. I should say spreader instead of knife because you're going to be using a carving knife, which I will also reference. And you will be like, what are you talking about? It's just like when I do my pine needle basket class and I say needles, and I'm talking about the sewing needle that we're working with pine needles, and I just call them needles too. So yeah. Okay, I'm kind of trying to hurry so that you won't have to watch a super long video. Okay, right around the tip there. So just really quickly, an overall view of what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to call the spine, or the top edge of the knife. This will be the blade, this is the handle, this is the tip of the knife, and this is the back of the handle. We're going to want to round this. I'm going to make this kind of wider here on the handle. Make sure I'm centered. And then I might do like a little narrowing in here. I'm really exaggerating. But to show a transition, I'm going to carve off a little bit in here to transition between the handle and that. I'm going to take off this corner, but I never want to remove this center line. We want to keep that center line all the time. So I'm going to take off this corner and this corner, and I'll do that on all the edges, and just keep working towards your center line, but don't remove your center line. Now, ideally, when you're looking down the knife this way, you want this side of your knife on the spine to be wider than the blade part. So you're going to be taking off a lot of material, like in this zone, okay? Because that'll be getting really thin. But you're not going to be taking off very much up here. You're just going to round over this corner. So I'll show you how we get started. Make sure I'm still in the camera here. So, like, I like to kind of start on the handle sometimes because then it's just a little nicer to hold. So I just kind of hold my knife at a 45 and I use my thumb to push the blade. Don't do any of this business. I don't know. It's just not very controlled. Just take off little bits. You don't want to take out big chunks. If you start whittling and you realize like it's starting to grab and rip out a big piece, turn it around and go the other way so that you don't accidentally rip out part that you don't want to rip out or cut out. Okay, so I can feel that happening right here. It wants to just rip out a big chunk. So I'm just going to go back the other direction. Please wear gloves when you do this. I know I'm not doing anything with gloves right at the moment, but we're just getting you started. Okay, and I usually kind of mark where I want my handle to transition into. So I'm going to do kind of keeping this part kind of fat and not remove anything there. Just keep that as a reminder to myself to stop carving when I get up here. So, but this whole length of this, I usually just take off the back or the spine of the knife first. And just keep very slowly taking little pieces off until it kind of looks like just a nice rounded shape. And I switch to the other side. Kind of treat it like you're trying to do the exact same thing on both sides so you don't lose your symmetry. Just take a couple strokes on one side and then a couple strokes on the other. Okay, so I can see right now I've got more of my wood on this side of the line, so I'm just going to work on that a little bit more until it's more symmetrical. And if you constantly check yourself against that reference line, you'll be able to keep that symmetry that you want for your knife or your spreader. See, I'm already doing it. Okay. So this is somewhat rounded. So you'll be starting with that. When you do this joint between your handle and your blade, I just kind of go this way and don't go all the way with that. Don't pull that little curl out of there completely because it'll just want to rip. So let it curl up and then come back the other direction and then just pull it out like this way. And then go back this way again. And that way you'll have a nice gradual transition from your blade into your handle. And that's how you kind of approach that part of the spreader. Okay, I'm just going to kind of work on one side at the moment to kind of give you some tips for the other parts of the knife. And then I'll probably end up putting up a couple other videos as people start having questions. But for now, I just want to get you started. So round over this, you're going to make a nice smooth arch here. When you start going on this part, again, I'm being pretty aggressive here because I'm trying to move speedily for your sakes. you have to have really strong hands to be able to take off quite a lot. And if you're reckless, you end up taking out more than you want to. But just trying to show you here at the tip, we're going to be thinner. So I'm going to probably whittle all the way down to the line, especially on the blade edge, on the spreader edge. See, I'm taking the knife right up to the line. I don't know if you can see that. Not sure how to stand so that it can be seen better. But we're going to take that right up to the line, all the way back. And you can see as I'm carving here, or maybe you can't. Why didn't you tell me you couldn't see it very well? Okay, such a quiet class. This will be much easier if you don't have a wide blade, but this part you're going to have to just kind of keep removing it as you work. It's much easier to do once you have this edge thinned out as far as you can to your line. But what you don't want to end up with is when you look down the knife that it makes like a crown or a bulge on either side. We want a gradual tapering from up here at the spine down to the blade. I guess I'm going to work on this side a little bit just to give you a sense of how to proceed. You know that spreading edge wants to be nice and thin and delicate looking, but you don't want anything to break off, so that's why we keep this nice and wide up here at the spine. Okay. And I always try to push the knife away from me. If I'm wearing gloves or if I have on an apron and I'm working sitting down, which is really the ideal way to do this, is to just be sitting by the fire with a glass of wine, whittling. I will usually turn it towards me, and then I don't mind doing this way towards me, like peeling potatoes. I refer to it like peeling a vegetable or something. But again, kind of when it wants to resist or break out, just make those little curls. I'm not in the middle at all. So sorry. This is not easy to do. I really have a lot of admiration for people who make YouTube videos. So we might have to figure out, my daughter's at the university and they have a software program called Zoom, I think, where we can all just sit around and look at each other and laugh about how our knives are turning out if this doesn't work. But this will just kind of give you a way to get started, and you're welcome to come and sit out here if we have a nice day and I have a couple chairs outside. You can enjoy the sunshine and sit 6 feet apart during the virus. You know how we're doing all that right now. So this is just kind of starting to look a little bit closer to what you'd want to see. This one has some saw marks on it, so that's why I kept this one for myself. Yours will be a little cleaner than that. And you don't have to take off, like I say, don't take off big chunks. If your hands are tired or you're just, we're not in a hurry. I'm hurrying because I don't want you to get bored watching this. I want you to enjoy whittling. But just take off little pieces like that. You'll be surprised how fast it goes. Especially when you get out here by the tip, you don't want to mess that up. You want to keep your nice profile there. So you can see how the tip of the knife is starting to get thin, or maybe we can't. So I kind of thin out the tip, so you can get that right into the corner of your jam jar, get every last bit of it out of there. I opened a jar of blueberry jam last week from last August when we were canning and picking blueberries up at the cabin, and thought to myself, wow, I can't wait till it's August and all of this stuff is behind us that we're going through right now. So now you can see I'm removing more from the side of the blade here. And you really can't do that very easily until you get this edge, which is the spreading edge, you get that thinned out a little bit. You notice I'm kind of leaving this alone after I cut the corners off of those two sides on the spine. I just kind of left that alone. Now when you get to the back, I'll just really quickly point this out. When you get to the back of your handle and you want a rounded shape, if you want a rounded shape, I'll do one side rounded and one beveled. Just kind of pick off little bits, and when you get over here on the end grain, it's going to be a little bit hard to work because it's end grain. But just take off little pieces, and when you get to the sandpaper and you start sandpapering that, it'll make it nice and round. Hope this is in focus for you. Okay, and if I want it rounded, I'm just going to kind of keep trying to bring that in to the center line as much as I can. Okay, probably not very easy to see on the camera. If I wanted to do a bevel, I would probably actually make another mark to say, okay, I'm going to stop with my line about right there. And just make a clean, nice straight edge. And then when you go back to do it the next time, to get closer, just be conscientious of the angle that you want to maintain, an equal distance all the way around. So that makes just kind of a nice chamfered edge. So that's one way to do that. When everything is over, if you want to come back out, I have some really cool detail carving tools that we can use to add like a little bit of like a monogram or like a little flower or leaf design on there if you wanted to. It's unbelievably hard to carve and look at the camera to see that I'm showing you actually something and not just standing here talking. My hands are like way out like 2 feet in front of me in order to do this. So you can see this is what you don't want to happen, getting it to tear out like that. And you really can't hold here very well and go this direction, which would be better for the knife. The knife is telling me I don't want you cutting me this way. It's against the grain. There's my line. I don't want to lose that. So just take off less until you have a nice smooth. I'm just taking off a lot less material. Okay. Now I'm just going to leave this at that for now until we start getting a few questions and thoughts about how to proceed. And yeah, good luck. If you have a specific question, we can work more on this transition. I might do that in the next video. Just didn't want this to get too long. So yeah, I'm just kind of rounding this off a bit more up at the top, but I'm going to leave this thick on the sides of this. Just kind of took off the edge. So it's the beginning, and it's starting to have some flatness here, but all these knife marks, when you go back, when you're getting ready to kind of finish it up, just go back and just smooth off all of those knife marks by taking really paper thin shavings and push with your thumb on the blade instead of using just the force of your hand. Just push very lightly with your thumb. And that will help give you a little bit of control about where your knife's going. Okay. Looking a little rough still, but I would probably work on this for, I don't know, sometimes I sit out by the campfire a couple hours and you'll be surprised how nice of a round shape you can get and how thin you can get this. As you can see, it's considerably thinner. It's considerably thinner up here at the tip of the blade than it is back here. I would take off quite a bit more right in here. And this is just starting to be kind of hollowed out. You can do as much as you want there on that. Okay. So let me know how you're doing and I will post something else if you need extra help. I'm also sending out notes and pictures. So I hope this will work. Have a great day.